One Nation are getting a bit of momentum in the electoral map, and they are doing quite well politically. So it is looking more and more possible every day that there could be Cory Bernardi, the South Australian Donald Trump, to win the South Australian election. So here are four scenarios. Again, similar with my Liberal Zero Seats one, where there's also sort of four scenarios, the least likely to the most likely. And the least likely is generally one that people think, oh, this is going to happen if that happens. With that one. The first one is a majority government. The majority government here is that Cory Bernardi wins the election just directly and has a very large vote and is able to is able to govern on his own. And of course, if that happens, you get your gun rights. And you get South Australia for South Australians, which is where they ditch a lot of Aborigines from their stuffs, from monies and stuff. Which, is kind of popular for some people, but I'd imagine, it'd be hell for a lot of people. Would have a very difficult time acclimatizing to a one nation government. But after that, it's likely that it's going to be a one-term government, because one of their other policy plans is to create optional preferences, which means that you can just decide not to preference anyone after your first vote, making it basically first past the post, in which Labour has a very strong ability to win through through the fact that Labour gets preference, the left gives preferences, but the right doesn't. So then the next one here is a coalition. Yeah, the deal with the devil, where the idea here is that it's under the notion that in the short-term future, Peter Malinauskas has like a corruption scandal or something where he does something nasty under the table with like Epstein or something, and so thus now the right and the left is willing to ditch the uni party like collectively, and in that Cory Bernardi becomes the premier of the Senate, but Genevieve Dawson Scott, or one of the major Greens, ends up becoming the House Premier. So there's an alliance between the Greens and One Nation, which could definitely happen considering the situation. I doubt. Again, with a huge doubt. Madam Speaker, Pauline called me a bitch. That's notably I think a former Green said that was Lydia Thorpe said that Pauline Hanson called her a bitch, and that's kind of tough and of course that's a accumulation of a lot of other issues which have happened, which have which of course impede a left-right coalition of this kind of degree, and made it kind of useless. Otherwise, this kind of parliament looks very similar to France's, where they have a big left, a big right, and a centre which is trying to make ends meet. And there's no real way for them to do that. So, yeah, they're coalition and supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals and right wing. So on this one, Peter Malinauskas takes a huge flip to the left and becomes much more lefty, and then a lot of the median voters end up and passing a lot of really weird laws, and then like forced sterilization of men or something, and then and then he ends up losing a lot of his moderate voters, and so now it's then it becomes like a right-wing coalition where the Liberals win a lot of urban areas because One Nation is seen as repugnant in those areas, and then One Nation becomes huge in the rural areas, and so thus you have like a sort of coalition deal. I will change this map slightly. There's Cavell will go independent. It doesn't matter either way, because it's likely that those three would end up making an alliance either way. so that now we're up to the fifth one, which is the true One Nation victory, which looks like this, where they don't win the House at all, but they do get the balance of basically the balance of power in the Senate, where they're the only party that them and the Liberals are the two that can get things through, or Labour and the Greens and Sarah Game is also one that can get things through the Legislative Council. That's probably the most likely way because, of course, all of these require the polls to be wrong by like 15%, whereas this one only requires the polls to be wrong by 4%. So yeah, this one's the most likely way that One Nation can win the election. That's a pretty good situation for them, but of course with this one, like with all three of these, it would turn politics into pain, really. Like, you have a right-wing government winning, it's gonna no more voice, and then we have this one with the Greens, and it's like no more billionaires, or no more elite. They have like problems with an elite. And huge debt is the big one that I had. So the crux of this is that sure, like, you could make huge changes, but there's a bit of a issue, like, politically, with a lot of moderate Australians thinking, that so far it looks like the changes that the Labour Party are making seem to be doing pretty well. In response to, I think, a lot of One Nation voters who might think or Labour voters who might think I'm like One Nation shilling. I hope I'm making it clear that these wouldn't be the best. These wouldn't be the best situation. So if you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe and whatever. And of course, if you enjoyed my thumbnail, please give me a comment, because I definitely I spent a lot of time making it. I spent a lot of time on it. See ya.